Hello everyone and welcome to a scrapbook layout share that is also a card layout share where I'm going to share what you can create from just 3 pattern papers. So I have used, you can see in front of me here, the country lace paper, and from just 3 sheets of paper I have created 8 layouts. That's 4 double page spreads, and then you can also use 3 sheets of paper to create 17 cards. So I've actually used up the whole entire pack. There are 12 sheets in this pack. I'm just going to bring them in and hope that you can see all these gorgeous patterns. They're very much tone on tone type patterns, which means that you can use these across a multitude of themes. So what I've done for this is sort of going back to the 4x4 scrapbook guide that I've done, and also the 5x5 scrapbook guide that I have done. And this time I've done a bit of a take on 3x4 inches, and I have created both masculine style cards and layouts and feminine style cards and layouts. So just to explain, from all of these, I have used just 3 sheets to create these layouts that I'm going to share with you. This is the reverse side of those 3 sheets. So from these 3 sheets, I've created 17 cards. And then for the more feminine version, I have used these 3 sheets to create the 8 layouts. And then these 3 sheets will create the 17 cards. So all up, you can get 16 layouts and 34 cards just from 12 sheets of paper. I'm going to flip through every single project that I have created with this, and these are the guides that I write. So there is a card guide and there is a scrapbook guide. You can see I've got a list of all the requirements if you want to follow on exactly. I've got cutting guides that are all laid out with the pattern papers. Well, my ink has sort of half run out here, so that's a little bit sketchy. I'll have to top that up. And then I've got assembly guides for everything. And then at the back of each guide, I've got the alternate scrapbook layouts. So you can use this to create both feminine and masculine. As I said, you can use it and swap the papers around. It's suitable for any 3 sheets of pattern paper that will coordinate together. And it's the same setup with the cards as well. Everything is set up with cutting guides and instructions on how to put everything together and the alternate cards. So I'm just going to put those aside. There will be a link with all of the details below about these. You can purchase these separately or you can purchase them together as a bundle. So check out the description. Now I'm going to move on to showing you all the artwork. And I just wanted to point out that on Stampin' Up's packaging, when you get the pattern paper, it does give you the list of colours, the coordinating cardstock that you can use. So this has basic beige, misty moonlight, petal pink and smoky slate. Now at this stage we can't purchase 12x12 cardstock in a pack of individual colours, so you purchase it in a colour family. For this one, Misty Moonlight is the blue, which I think is absolutely beautiful, but I have used Close to My Heart Sapphire, which I think works really well. I've used Memento Tuxedo Black, which is Stampin' Up stock, and I think that's fabulous because this is the one that I used to use all the time. I've used Close to My Heart Mink, and I've also used Stampin' Up's Misty Moonlight. So you'll see with the stamping here on these elements, there is some colouring with it. So for the masculine pages, I've brought in trusty tools, and you can see here by the shading that you can colour in these tools really quickly and easily just by stamping them. And it does make it really fast and easy to use. The stamping with Misty Moonlight is all 2nd generation ink. So by that I mean I ink up the image, stamp it off onto scrap piece of paper, and then stamp it onto the image. And I have used the die cuts with this set as well. But if you can look past the embellishments, these layouts are flexible enough to bring in any stamped image. If you wanted to bring in a baby theme stamp set, I think it would work really well. You could bring in outdoor type or travel type stamp sets and they would work beautifully as well. You can see that these circles here and the elements where the title is and these elements here, they are all places to put additional stamped elements, ephemera or die cut pieces. I've used silver foil as well to add a little bit of shine to some of these, and the little pearls that you can see here are the basic grey and smoky slate pearls because I thought they worked really well with the cottage lace paper and also with this tool type theme. And you might be able to see, I'm hoping it's picking up on camera, there is some background stamping here, and I've got that stamp from the Spotlight on Nature. So it's this one here. You could also use this speckle as well, but I'm using this stamp set in the feminine layouts that I'm going to show you in a moment. So this is layout 1. Layout 2, you can see I've done some stamping direct onto these 3x4 inch squares to add a little bit more detail, and I've got the silver foil as well, and I've loved the addition of putting some circles on here. So if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that I'm in love with both of these sets. It's the Everyday Details dies and the Spotlight on Nature dies, and they work really well together. I have opened these up on camera before, but just in case you haven't seen them, it really is good value for money, because with the Spotlight on Nature ones, you get double the set of circles, and you can see this one here where it has the line effect. It's a different pattern on the other set, and they alternate, and they all work so well together to create this sort of feature onto your page. And then this one here gives you another option with the circles as well. And with the cards, I'll just get this out as well so you can have a quick little look. There are also some rectangles and some other elements in these. So I think these are really good essentials to have in your toolkit. Sorry, pardon the pun. I know I'm showing toolkit layouts, but just a simple circle adds a lovely feature and a place for things to land. So that's layout 2. Layout 3, I've got one of the largest circles here. The title here has been stamped with classic letters because I will add the titles later on when I add my photos onto these layouts. But I love the fact that there are double some of the letters, and it's got these cute little extra elements as well that you can use to add little features to the page. These would actually look gorgeous stamped around a circle element, which I've just thought of now, even though I've completed the floral layouts. These are fairly straightforward designs, and they are a take on an old scrapbooking guide that I did some time ago with Close to My Heart product. It was from a collection called Hello Darling, but I've reinvented them a little bit and added some other things in here to incorporate the country lace papers. So this is layout 4, and this one I've stamped on this light grey paper as well. You can see it's like tone-on-tone stamping here. I've done some background stamping with the tools, and I think it just adds a lovely feature to these panels. And I've used the black journaling pen to dress up all of the pattern papers, just like I did with the 5x5 guide and the 4x4 guide. The other thing that I wanted to mention while I bring in the floral layouts is that journaling spots, you can put another piece of white paper on top of here. If you wanted to journal, you can do some journaling straight over top of this because it's quite subtle stamping. You can bring in additional photos. So you could put a 4x4 photo here. You can put some trimmed 3x4 photos here. All the photo placements, the mats are at true sizes and the photos have been trimmed down. So there's lots of options to add more to this, or you can combine this into a 6x4 photo if you wanted to. So these layouts that I create are fairly clean and classic, but they give you lots of options to add additional elements in, or to put an oversized photo on if you want as well. So to give you an idea of how this looks with a more feminine look, you can see I've kept the blue and the grey here, but I've used the more floral design for these pages. The blue on this one, to me, looked a little bit like eyelets, so it translated well to a masculine page. Giving this one the floral element here and the doily type pattern here just gives it a totally different look. So I'm just going to put these side by side so you can have a look. They are exactly the same layout, but I have brought in Spotlight on Nature. These ones don't have dies to them, but they're fairly easy to fussy cut. And I've kept them all just with black stamping rather than colouring them in, just to make them easier to complete, because I do like the graphic style of this, but they are easy to colour in because there are lots of details on these images. They stamp up absolutely beautifully. They are red rubber or a cling stamp, but because you're fussy cutting them out, you don't have to line them up anywhere, and the fine detail just comes up so well with a cling stamp. And I've just got some old silver glitter gems here that I put around these just to dress them up. So this was layout 3, the masculine version. I'm going to bring in the feminine one. The other thing that I wanted to mention, the difference apart from the actual papers for the feminine one to the masculine one, are the circle dies that I've used. You can see I've used this doily type one here rather than the dot dash. So the dot dash one gives a more tradey type feel because of the tools that I've used. And using a doily one here gives it a softer, more feminine look. There's lots of space on this layout too. You can put 3 6x4 photos along here if you wanted to. You could put a 4x6 portrait style photo here. Lots of opportunity to add more photos into these. And if you wanted to, you could also use stenciling or ink blending behind some of these elements to add a little bit more. This is layout 2. And here's the feminine version. There's the addition of the pink and white ribbon here. On this one, I didn't use the ribbon. I just used a sapphire 1/4 inch strip. But with the ribbon, I'm just going to turn this over so you can see. I've just used red line tape to adhere it to the back. I was using glue dots, but I just felt like it needed an extra little bit of stability there to make sure that they didn't move. And I do have a couple of glue dots underneath the ribbon. So wrapping them around the edges of the 12 by 12 makes it easier to adhere them to the page and for them to stay where you want them to. And you don't get the frayed ends on the edge of this. So here's the first layout I showed you. And this one here with the spotlight on nature florals that I've used for my stamping. I'm really happy with how these have totally different looks, even though they're the same patterns, but they have a totally different feel to them due to the different patterns that I've used and the different color tones. The only color tone that's really changed is the dark gray here to the more pinky peach color here. And of course, using different embellishments and stamping really softens the look for these type of pages. So there are all the layouts that I've created with this, and all I have left over from the cutting guide from the scrapbook layouts is a 3 by 3 inch square of pattern paper. So now I'm going to bring in the cards. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to fit them all onto here. So I've got them all in a tub here. I just thought I'd give you this visual first. These are all the feminine ones, and these are all the masculine ones. Oh, this is where I put my leftover piece. I was trying to work it out before. This is all that's left from the layouts, one 3 by 3 inch piece of paper. And just put these back in here to separate. And from the cards, this is what's left over from cutting the cards using the guide. So you could make another card with these, make little banners or something like that with it. But there's really minimal waste from this 3 by 4 inch cutting guide. So I'm going to bring the cards in, and they are clean and graphic cards. So this is card number 1 and number 2. What I've done throughout this card workshop is use the same pattern to create 2 cards. And you can see how beautifully the images stamp up with Misty Moonlight. I really love the Stampin' Up inks. I thought I wasn't going to like them because they are a wetter ink and it does take a little bit to get used to them, but you don't need to ink it up quite as heavily as what you do with the Close to My Heart ink pads. Just light pressure and you just get this amazing end result here. I love how it stamps up. So I think what I'll do is bring in each version. I'll show you the one with trusty tools, and then I'll bring in the same version of the card in the feminine version using Spotlight on Nature. So you can see there's a different look to this. These ones have strips for the sentiments. These ones I've stamped directly on. And the guide has the photos for all of these. And these are cards that can easily be made, and the patterns can be used for any pattern paper at all. So these ones are card 3 and 4. I've popped this one up on foam tape, this panel here, and you can see I've used the silver foil to dress it up a little bit. And this is 3 and 4. Using the feminine version as well. This one I have coloured in the butterfly just to give an example of how it would look. This one I've stamped directly onto the card panel and I'm leaving it black and white. I've used some little bitty sparkles on these ones. This one's got clear sparkles. They're old CTMH product, so I'm just trying to use all of those up before I purchase any more because I do love the Stampin' Up dots and embellishments that they have. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. I'm just going to move these ones aside and move on to the next ones. This is 5 and 6, and you can see I've got the silver foil happening here. And how that's cut out is with the Trusty Tools dies, there's a pegboard die here, and it doesn't cut the outside of it. So you can line this up and cut a whole panel of this to go across the bottom of a scrapbook layout or a larger panel for a card base. So I've cut this out, but I've actually trimmed it down just a little bit to fit on my card. And this is 5 and 6 with the feminine version, and this die here is from the Everyday Details dies. It's this one from the rectangles, and adding these dies just adds a little bit more interest. Instead of silver here, I've got some ribbon, but it looks just fine with the ribbon left off as well. Now 7 and 8 are actually the same card, and I was going to use the cutest onesie from Stampin' Up, which is this one here, but it arrived a little bit too late for me to put that together. So instead, I've gone into my stash of stamps and I've used New Kid on the Block from Close to My Heart. Not all of the cards stick with the same stamping that I've got throughout the scrapbook layouts. I wanted to show that these patterns are versatile enough to put other stamped images on. So these cards are number 9 and number 10, very masculine type cards because of the colors of them. But if you dress these up with florals, it will look totally different. So here are the versions with the more feminine feel to them. So sometimes with the cards, I've actually turned the paper over so I can get a different pattern here. This one would work really well with a masculine stamp set. So it's really up to you what you put with them. So 11 and 12 are exactly the same here, but 13's using the grey pattern paper here and the stamping direct onto the panel, whereas these ones have been stamped and die cut. And for the floral ones, you can see here, I have turned some paper over so that you get the back side of this to give that gorgeous peachy pink colour. And using the ribbon just anchors this little floral arrangement. This is from this set here. I've stamped the floral and I've stamped the leaves and I've fussy cut those out. So there's only 2 stampings here, but they group together really well and it fills out the card beautifully. And I just wanted to point out with this one, these are adhered direct to the panel. The panel itself is popped up with foam, but the floral elements are popped up with dimensionals, just to give them that extra pop and dimension. So adhering things direct to the panel here and then popping some things up just creates for some more visual interest. So we'll pack these up and I'm nearly finished with all the layout share. I'm quite surprised how much I actually got out of 12 sheets of pattern paper. Oh, and I did want to mention with these ones, I don't have a sentiment on here. I'll probably put the sentiment on the inside. You can see I've got my little cheat notes so I know what number I'm up to. But I'll probably put a sentiment on the inside or I can just add a little stamp sentiment across the bottom here. This is card 14 and 15 and I've fanned out those 3x4 cuts. I've done the stamping like I did on the scrapbook layout direct on top of these card panels with mink ink. And I've used the same pattern paper here but I've just reversed one so you've got a bit more depth at the background. And these are the floral versions. You can see I've used a different stamp set again because I was having a play with this and I love how it's stamped, so I decided to put them onto these cards just to show you that you can introduce any image at all. So this is translucent florals. You don't have to do any of this shading. You just stamp it and it does it for you. It really is quite good. And these come with dies as well. And it's another cling one. Don't be scared of cling stamps. They work tremendously well. And because it has all the dies, you can just die cut these or you can fussy cut them out and you don't have to worry about how everything is lining up. Now you'll notice some of the sentiments here. I've used some from this stamp set as well because I really liked the cleanness to these fonts. They lent themselves really well to these clean and graphic cards. And the last 2 cards or the last 2 patterns I've got to show you are these ones here. So when I came to the end of doing all my cutting, I had some 1-inch strips left. So I've created some cards with these and I've rotated these ones. They are actually the same cutting guide, but I've just rotated the card base. Here is an example of doing that little bit of background stamping. I know it's very light. It's just with the mink ink, which might be a bit similar to Basic Beige, I think, for Stampin' Up. That gives a gorgeous background for the stamp sentiment. And then I had just a little left over from the strips, not quite enough paper to cover the entire card base. So I just cut some 1/4-inch strips of silver foil and put those in between. And for this one here, I used the ribbon, the white and pink ribbon, although it does look a bit more peachy than pink. And I love the tone of that. And then I just did a quick colouring here with my tri-blend markers. And finishing off with little gems. I love how the gems and the pearls look on these cards. I've only put 3 on each card. It's just enough to dress everything up. And that's it for my scrapbook layout and card share. I'm really pleased with how much I was able to stretch out the 12 sheets of paper. That was my aim, to make easy cuts for people to do at a workshop and get projects done that wouldn't take a whole heap of time. You can see I've got all the layouts here. So there are 16 layouts or 8 double-page spreads, and you can pick just any 3 pattern papers that coordinate together to create these projects. As I said earlier, everything that I've used will be in the description below, as well as links to the guides. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today. I know I'm pretty excited about all of these projects, and I can't wait to get my photos onto these layouts and to share these cards with people. Thank you so much for watching. As always, happy crafting and bye for now.